The sound of shattering glass pierced the quiet evening, as Emily screamed, "How could you, Rachel?" Her voice trembled, not from fear but from betrayal. The crowded cafe fell silent, forks pausing midair, eyes darting toward the chaos unfolding in the corner. Rachel stared back, her face pale yet defiant, and said, "You were never meant to know this way." Emily's hands shook violently, the coffee she had just bought dripping across the table, staining napkins like fresh blood. Michael, sitting nearby, stood frozen, eyes wide in disbelief, torn between the two women who had once been inseparable. Emma, sitting 2 tables away, covered her mouth, whispering to herself, "This can't be happening." Time slowed, yet Emily's heart pounded faster, each beat echoing in her ears. She remembered the promises, the nights of laughter, the secrets they had sworn to guard forever. Emily shouted again, "You were my best friend, Rachel, and you chose him?" Rachel's lips curled, both guilty and unapologetic, as silence swallowed the room. The silence after Emily's scream stretched across the cafe like a shroud. Emily said, "You promised me, Rachel. You swore we'd never hurt each other." Rachel's hands shook as she muttered, "I didn't mean for you to find out like this." Michael stepped forward, whispering, "Emily, let's just go." But Emily snapped, "Go? How can I leave when the truth is bleeding in front of me?" Emma whispered to herself, "This is tearing everything apart." The cafe's warm lights flickered, shadows swallowing the trust that once bound them. Emily's voice broke as she said, "We were sisters, Rachel. Every secret, every dream. I gave it all to you." Rachel closed her eyes, murmuring, "I never wanted to hurt you, but I wanted something you had." Michael whispered under his breath, "This isn't right," his gaze flicking between the women. Emma gripped her chair, thinking, "If I speak, I'll lose them both." The cafe clock ticked loudly, each second a reminder that the bond was shattering. Emily's fists slammed the table, cups rattling. "Tell me why, Rachel," she demanded. Rachel's voice trembled, "Because I loved what you had more than I loved us." Michael whispered, "This isn't the place," but Emily ignored him. Emma's inner voice screamed, "Say something, stop this before it's too late," yet she stayed frozen. The cafe air thickened, the smell of coffee drowned by bitterness. Emily whispered now, her anger thinning into heartbreak, "I thought forever meant something to you, Rachel." Rachel's lips parted, but no sound came. Michael's chest rose as he finally stepped closer, saying softly, "Emily, she's not worth your pain." Emma shut her eyes, a single tear rolling as she thought, "This friendship just died in front of me." The cafe buzzed faintly, but for them, it was the sound of a grave being closed. The night after the cafe confrontation, Emily sat alone in her bedroom, clutching a photo of her and Rachel from years ago. Emily whispered, "We were just kids, Rachel, chasing fireflies and laughing until we collapsed on the grass." Her voice cracked as she remembered those summer nights, the ones that made the world feel endless. She recalled Rachel shouting, "Best friends forever," as their hands linked under a blanket of stars. Emily muttered, "Forever. That word feels like a cruel joke now." The silence in the room was thick, broken only by the ticking of her clock. She thought of every promise, every hug, every late-night secret, each memory now cutting deeper than the betrayal itself. The memory pulled Emily back to a warm summer day years ago. The two of them ran barefoot across a grassy field, chasing fireflies. Rachel laughed, shouting, "Don't let them escape, Emily." Emily laughed harder, replying, "You're slower than me, Rachel, admit it." Their laughter echoed as the sun dipped into the horizon. They had no fear of tomorrow, no thought of betrayal, only the unshakable belief that nothing could break them apart. Emily remembered that warmth like it was stitched into her skin. Another memory hit her like a wave, high school nights spent on Rachel's porch, whispering secrets under blankets. Rachel had said, "I swear, Emily, we'll tell each other everything, always." Emily replied, "No lies, no walls, just us forever." The crickets sang in the dark, their young voices trembling with dreams too big to hold. Emily now whispered to herself, "How did it always turn into this?" Her tears blurred the memory, but she could still feel Rachel's hand gripping hers in that vow. Emily's chest ached as another memory unfolded. College orientation when nerves ran high and Rachel squeezed her hand. Rachel had said, "Don't worry, Emily, we'll conquer this place together." Emily replied with a nervous laugh, "With you I can face anything." They had stood in the campus courtyard, wide-eyed, excited, their bond a shield against the unknown. Emily muttered now, "We faced everything together, except the storm you brought into my life." The room seemed smaller as Emily recalled their last birthday together before betrayal. Rachel had surprised her with candles, balloons, and a hand-painted card that read, "To my sister, not by blood, but by heart." Emily had hugged her tight, whispering, "You're the best part of my life, Rachel." The memory was sweet, but it twisted into bitterness now. Emily said softly into the empty room, "Maybe that's why this wound feels so fatal, because you weren't just my friend, Rachel. You were my family." Emily noticed Rachel slipping away in small ways. Emily said, "You've been ignoring my calls, Rachel." Rachel smiled faintly, replying, "I've just been busy, nothing more." But Emily felt the hollow in her words. They once talked until sunrise, yet now Rachel's phone always died before midnight. Michael, watching silently, thought, "Something's wrong here." Emma muttered to herself, "They're drifting apart," but no one's saying why. Emily tried to laugh it off, but the weight of distance pressed harder with every unanswered text. Emily stared at Rachel during class, noticing her whispering with Michael. Emily said under her breath, "Why does it feel like you're hiding something from me, Rachel?" Rachel avoided her eyes, murmuring, "You're imagining things." Michael shifted in his seat, uneasy under Emily's gaze. Emma scribbled notes, stealing glances at the tension simmering between them. The professor's voice faded into background noise as the friendship began to fracture silently, word by unspoken word. Emily remembered when Rachel used to run to her first with news. Now she heard updates from others. Emily confronted her, saying, "I had to find out from Emma that you got the internship." Rachel replied softly, "I didn't want to make a big deal out of it." Emily's voice cracked, "We promised no secrets." Emma whispered, "I never meant to be the messenger." Michael looked between them, frowning at the widening gap. The silence afterward was louder than words. Late at night, Emily sent another unanswered message. She whispered, "Why won't you talk to me, Rachel?" Her phone screen glowed in the dark message left unread. Rachel laughed with Michael at a cafe across town, her voice carrying warmth Emily no longer heard. Emma spotted them together and muttered, "This will break her heart." The distance wasn't accidental anymore. It was chosen. Emily felt the truth creeping in, even if she still tried to deny it. Emily finally broke her silence in front of them. She said sharply, "I feel like you're shutting me out, Rachel." Rachel stiffened, replying, "Not everything is about you, Emily." Michael stepped forward, saying, "Stop, both of you." Emma whispered, "This is just the beginning." Emily's heart pounded as she realized this wasn't miscommunication anymore. It was the start of something breaking, and the fracture lines were spreading fast. Emily's footsteps echoed against the wet pavement as she followed Rachel down the quiet city street. The neon lights flickered above, casting fractured shadows that mirrored her broken trust. Emily's voice cracked, raw and demanding, "Tell me the truth, Rachel. No more excuses, no more lies. Look me in the eye and say it." Rachel froze, her shoulders stiffening as though she had carried this weight for too long. Michael appeared from the corner, his hesitant gaze falling on both women, guilt already etched across his face. Emily's heart shattered further when Rachel's hand slipped quietly into Michael's, fingers locking with a familiarity that was undeniable. Her voice splintered into the night, so every silence, every distance, every broken promise, it was him all along. Rachel's voice faltered, whispering, "I never wanted you to find out like this, Emily." Emma, hidden nearby, clutched her chest, whispering in disbelief, "The truth has finally surfaced." Emily staggered backward, the rain catching in her hair as her voice broke. "You both knew, and yet you let me believe we were unbreakable." Her trembling words carried louder than the traffic humming in the distance. Rachel stepped forward desperately, tears glistening as she whispered, "Emily, I didn't want you to get hurt. I was terrified you'd see me differently. Emily's voice sharpened, cutting like glass. Differently? Rachel, you've erased everything we ever were. Michael lowered his head, his voice weak. I never wanted to stand between you two. I never meant for this. Emily's rage erupted. You're not in the middle, Michael. You're the cause. Emma's whisper carried on the wind. The cracks have finally split wide open. The betrayal wasn't a wound. It was a canyon carved across Emily's chest, and she felt herself falling into it with no way back. Emily's memories collided violently with the sight before her, every promise replaying like cruel mockery. She screamed, all those nights you swore we'd never betray each other, Rachel. Did they mean nothing to you? Rachel's voice trembled, cracked open with guilt and defiance. They meant everything, Emily. But I wanted more than friendship. I wanted something you had. Michael's hands shook as he whispered, I tried to stop this, Emily. I swear I did. Her laugh was hollow, broken as she shouted back, You didn't stop it. You let it happen. That's worse. Emma's whisper was sharp. This is the breaking point, the moment where their bond collapses. The rain began to fall harder, soaking them in cold grief, as lightning illuminated their faces, twisted with pain, betrayal, and a truth that could never be buried again. Emily's voice dropped into a deadly whisper, sharper than any scream. You wanted him, Rachel, and you threw us away for it. Rachel's tears blurred with the rain as she whispered back, I loved you both, Emily, but not the same way. Emily's heart twisted, as if the words themselves had claws. Michael stepped closer, hands outstretched like he could erase the wreckage. Please, this isn't what either of you wanted. Emily's laugh was cold, raw, and seething. Don't you dare try to soften this, Michael. You wanted everything. You took my trust, my best friend, and left me with nothing. Emma whispered from the shadows, this silence will scar them deeper than words ever could. The city roared faintly with passing cars, but to Emily, the world was collapsing into quiet shards of betrayal, each one sharper than the last. Emily's body trembled as she shouted, her voice filled with despair. You weren't just my best friend, Rachel. You were my family, and you chose betrayal over love. Rachel's lips parted, her voice fragile as she whispered, I never stopped loving you, Emily. I just loved him too, differently. The words pierced deeper than any scream could. Michael's expression hardened with guilt as he muttered, This was my mistake too. I should have walked away. Emily's eyes burned, her words final and scorching. No, Michael, this wasn't weakness. This was choice, and you both chose against me. Emma's whisper cut through the night, the bond is dead, and nothing will resurrect it. Above them, the pale moonlight cast its silver glow, but even the night sky seemed to mourn, painting their betrayal in eternal shadows. The storm poured down in sheets, drowning the city in noise, but nothing compared to Emily's scream as she shouted, You destroyed us, Rachel! Her voice tore through the night, like lightning splitting the sky. Rachel's eyes blazed with fury as she shouted back, I was suffocating in your shadow, Emily, and you never even noticed. Michael pushed between them, rain dripping from his hair, saying desperately, Stop this madness before it consumes you both. But Emily shoved him aside, her face streaked with rain and tears, her chest heaving. It already has, Michael, she cried. The rain clung to their skin, plastering clothes to their bodies, but none of them felt the cold. It was the fire of betrayal that seared their veins. Emma stood frozen under the awning nearby, whispering to herself, This storm isn't weather, it's the end of their world. The thunder cracked overhead, but the silence between Emily and Rachel afterward was heavier, thicker, and far more dangerous than the storm itself. Emily's fists shook at her sides as her voice cracked. You weren't jealous of me, Rachel. You hated me, didn't you? Rachel's expression broke open, raw and jagged as she shouted, I envied you, Emily. Every glance, every smile, every victory. You stole the spotlight while I faded into the background. Michael's voice thundered, almost as loudly as the storm as he shouted, This isn't fair to any of us. But Emily's scream cut sharper than his words. You had me, Rachel. Wasn't that enough for you? Rachel's sobbing laugh was drenched with venom. No, Emily, it wasn't. I wanted a life that wasn't tied to your shadow. Emma clutched her chest, trembling, whispering under her breath, The truth burns hotter than fire. The rain coursed over their faces like tears from the sky itself, washing away illusions and exposing the raw, ugly truth that their friendship had become. Emily roared through the storm, her words cutting like blades. "You could have had the world, Rachel. But you chose to take what mattered most, us." Rachel screamed back, "Because I wanted something that was finally mine, Emily. I wanted Michael, and I wanted to feel like I was enough." Michael's voice cracked as he shouted, "This is madness. I never wanted to be the wedge between you two." Emily's eyes blazed as she spat. "Then you should have walked away, Michael. But instead you helped her destroy me." Her voice dropped, raw and hollow, as she whispered, "All I asked for was honesty, and you gave me a grave." Emma's face paled, her voice no louder than the rain as she whispered, "Every word is tearing their souls apart." Lightning tore across the sky, illuminating their faces, portraits of fury, grief, and loss, etched forever into the night. Emily's hands trembled as she clutched her chest, her sobbing words nearly drowned by the storm. "We built a world together, Rachel, and you burned it to ash." Rachel's face collapsed with guilt and tears as she whispered, "I never wanted to destroy us, Emily, but I couldn't keep living under your shadow while you had everything." Michael turned his head away, unable to meet either of their eyes, his voice low and broken. "This love has poisoned us all." Emily's scream was sharp, savage, and final. "Don't you dare call this love. It's betrayal, plain and cruel." Emma covered her face with trembling hands, whispering, "There's nothing left to repair. This isn't love, it's ruin." The storm raged harder, thunder clashing like their voices, the entire city around them vanishing into the storm while their pain remained crystal clear. Emily dropped to her knees on the wet pavement, her scream shaking with pain. "I loved you more than anyone, Rachel, and you killed us with your betrayal." Rachel's tears mingled with the rain as she whispered, "I loved you too, Emily, but I loved him differently." Michael's chest heaved as he muttered, "This was my fault too. I should have walked away." Emily's eyes burned as she spat. "No, Michael. This wasn't weakness. This was your choice." Emma's voice trembled like glass, whispering, "This is the moment the bond finally dies." The storm howled around them, lightning flashing, thunder roaring, but none of it was as loud or as final as the sound of their friendship shattering. What once felt eternal was now nothing more than ruins at their feet. Emily sat on her apartment floor at dawn, clutching the broken bracelet Rachel once gave her. Her whispers shook in the silence. "We promised forever, Rachel, and you broke every word." The clock ticked, cruel in its indifference. She remembered Rachel laughing once, saying, "You'll never be alone, Emily." But here she was, alone, drowning in silence. Michael's guilty face haunted her, his words echoing, "I should have left." Emma's warning voice rang clear, "Nothing will heal this." Emily pressed the broken bracelet to her chest and whispered through tears, "Then I must heal myself." For the first time, her pain carried the faintest seed of strength, fragile but alive, as the new morning light fell across her face. Emily wandered into the park where she and Rachel once laughed under the stars. She touched the bench where they once sat, whispering, "This place remembers us even if you've forgotten." She remembered Rachel's words, "We'll sit here when we're old, Emily, and nothing will have changed." The memory hurt more than the betrayal itself. Emily's breath caught as she whispered, "Everything changed." Joggers passed, children laughed, life moved on, indifferent to her grief. Emma's voice replayed in her mind, "You must decide if silence weakens or strengthens you." Emily clenched her fists, staring into the sunrise as she whispered with new fire, "I'll choose strength, Rachel, even if it means leaving you behind." Emily froze outside the cafe window, where Rachel and Michael now sat. Her heart pounded as she saw Rachel laugh, that laugh that once belonged only to her. She whispered bitterly, "It belongs to him now." Michael leaned close, his words lost to the glass, but Emily didn't need to hear them. Her reflection stared back at her, pain etched across her features, but beneath it, strength. Emma's voice filled her mind like a guide. "You can't heal where you were broken." Emily wiped her tears and whispered, "Not anymore." With that, she turned from the window, leaving behind ghosts of what was walking toward a future where her healing would no longer include Rachel or Michael. Emily met Emma on the library steps. Emma whispered, "I should have spoken sooner." Emily shook her head, whispering back, "You couldn't have stopped what was already breaking." Emma's eyes softened with regret, "But maybe I could have spared you some pain." Emily sighed, her voice steadier now. "Pain is a teacher, Emma, and I'm learning from it." Michael's absence was a ghost that no words could erase. Rachel's silence was heavier than her confession. Emily looked upward, whispering, "This isn't my ending. It's my rebirth." Emma stared at her with quiet admiration, realizing Emily's strength no longer came from holding on, but from letting go. Emily stood at the waterfront as the sun set, the fiery sky mirrored on calm waters. She whispered, "You took my trust, Rachel, but not my spirit." The broken bracelet hung from her fingers before she dropped it into the river. It sank quickly, swallowed by waves, just like the friendship she once thought indestructible. Michael's shadow still lingered, Rachel's laugh still echoed faintly, Emma's words still guided her. Emily whispered softly, "I may be broken, but I'm still here." She turned from the water, each step heavier but stronger than the last. The sun sank, but Emily rose. The scar remained, permanent, but it would be her strength, not her weakness. The city lights shimmered as Emily walked through the empty streets. Her arms hugged her chest as she whispered, "I thought love meant forgiveness, Rachel, but love without trust is poison." She remembered Rachel's voice echoing in her head, "Forever, Emily." Michael's shadow flickered in her mind, every smile a scar she'd carry. Emma's voice repeated, "Silence can wound more than betrayal." Emily breathed deeply, whispering, "I'll never be the same." The night sky hung heavy above her, but her steps were steady, moving forward even as her heart still bled. Emily sat at the riverbank, tracing her fingers through the cold dirt. She whispered, "I dreamed we'd sit here as old women, still inseparable." She heard Rachel's laugh in memory, "Nothing can break us, Emily." Tears stung her eyes as she whispered, "Everything broke." The river flowed on, uncaring, relentless, teaching her that life doesn't pause for pain. Emma's warning echoed, "Letting go is survival." Emily closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and whispered, "Then I'll let go." She opened her eyes to the horizon, seeing not Rachel, not Michael, but herself standing alone and strong. Emily returned to her bedroom, opening her old journal. She wrote, "Rachel, you gave me love and betrayal, both hollowed me." She paused, staring at blank pages, then whispered, "But from hollows, new strength grows." Michael's guilt haunted her like shadows in the corners. Emma's voice in her mind whispered, "Your story doesn't end here." Emily smiled faintly through her tears and said, "No, it begins with me." Her pen scratched one final truth. "I survived you." For the first time the words didn't taste like bitterness but like freedom. Emily stood on the bridge overlooking the glowing city skyline. She whispered, "Rachel, you didn't just take Michael, you took every version of us we could have been." The words cracked, but no tears followed. Emma's voice whispered again, "Sometimes healing looks like scars." Emily touched her chest lightly, whispering, "Then I'll wear mine proudly." The wind lifted her hair as she closed her eyes, letting the past slip like sand through her fingers. She stood tall, framed against the glittering city, no longer defined by Rachel or Michael, but by her survival. Emily whispered into the night, "Rachel, you didn't just betray me, you betrayed every version of us we could have been." The words echoed like a scar across the empty street. Michael was gone, Rachel, a ghost in memory, Emma, a quiet voice inside her. Emily straightened her shoulders and whispered, "I lost you, Rachel, but I found myself." Her footsteps rang hollow but steady, carrying her forward. The friendship was dead, but Emily lived, scarred yet unbroken. The final blow wasn't Rachel's betrayal. It was Emily's decision to rise from it.